All right. What is up, y'all? Welcome to the side of the mountain. Okay. Seriously, though, my name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. This is a video on our main side. The main side of In the Image Clothing Company, one of our fourths, where what we do is allow the body to work. Our slogan here is allowing the body to work. Why and how? Why are we a clothing company? When we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth and allow the body to work. Well, clothing's the only thing physically placed on us. The only reason we're a clothing company is for that reason, to allow the body to work. The thing is, we've got all sorts of anything placed onto the body, just the literal word of clothing, okay? Anything that clothes the human being is clothing. The way that God clothes the fields with grass, okay? We've got hats and pants and gloves and tops and undergarments, socks, shoes, anything, okay? Placed onto the human being is clothing the body with something, the way that God clothes the animals with hair. Dante is here, okay, my standard poodle. Here's the thing, okay? Clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. The goal is natural on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. There's no opinion to natural. Matter cannot be created or destroyed, so everything that's able to be turned into unnatural things are only natural materials, and then they always decompose back to natural, okay? But this video's title is the proper height chair from person to person, okay? The proper height chair from person to person. Here's the thing. We discuss everything we do in life. Standing, sitting, walking, eating, breathing, sleeping, hydration, whatever it could be that we're doing as a human being, we're doing it in and through the literal word of clothing, anything placed onto our bodies. So we give a lot of free modifications in clothing. We give ways that you can modify, if you will, your approach to life, our approaches to life as human beings, because we live in this modern man-made world that gets placed onto God's natural earth. So we've got a lot of things that are altering the body. The human being has gripped arches in the feet, opposing the center line of our bodies. We've got arches that grip inward, and that's what keeps us vertical on Earth's gravity. We've got a vertical pole to gravity and a horizontal surface to the planet Earth, okay? This is a 90-degree angle, a perpendicular angle, a right angle. So we've got to stand up. Our body's center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body with musculature up to the crown of the head, down to some of these upper ribs, and out to the edges of the shoulder. Well, the jaw is the shoulder. Watch this, if you can see in this video here. As I move the musculature of my jaw, it moves the collar of my top, okay? So, keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars focuses for both human beings here on In the Image Clothing Company's main side, and for the dogs. Another fourth of In the Image Clothing Company is In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. Dante here, this dog in this video, is a standard poodle, okay? Standard is the size, the large size of the breed, which is poodle, okay? But we give information that applies to all dogs on the same things we do for human beings here, okay? Letting dogs stay natural. That's our slogan on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. So, yeah, collars, leashes, harnesses, bandanas, slip leads, anything placed onto a dog is the literal word of clothing. The dog with something, it's just something placed onto the dog. We have these domesticated animals that would never have anything placed onto them until we did that as human beings, okay? Take these wild dogs out of their natural environment and bring them into our modern societies. There's a lot of hidden dangers for the dogs. We need to take care of the dogs and do what we can to give them a natural life, okay, for their health and safety, okay? Seriously. So that's a lot of what we do on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. But the big thing with this video is we've been talking since the very founding of In the Image Clothing Company how chair heights are damaging to the human being. With this vertical pull to gravity, okay, we've got even mathematical opposing bends in the body to stay vertical, standing up. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, and then the upper back, which is just the neck, the cervical spine, it bends forward. So, we've got a video here under the Image Clothing Company's main site titled "The Human Body is Just Mechanics," and it is. Okay, the human body is just a machine of hinges, levers, and rotations. It's just residing in its neutral positions, and it just has function outside of there. Okay, things like keeping elbows at the natural waist. A video under in the Image Clothing Company's main site here. We have this upper arm bone. Okay, the humerus. The bottom end of the upper arm bone is the elbow. The top end of the upper arm bone is the shoulder. Okay, there's a neutral to everything in the body. Just standing up, we stand neutral, or we lean left by pulling muscles on our left side. We'll go back to neutral. We can lean right by pulling muscles on our right side. Come back to neutral. We can lean forward by pulling muscles to pull us forward, or we can lean backward and not fall down the mountainside off of these stones I've stacked. Okay. By pulling muscles, though, we can lean backward, but there's always a neutral. It's just standing up. It's Earth's vertical gravity pull. So sitting down is not a natural thing for the human being in a chair. It just really isn't, okay? There's no way to possibly train posture. We make a lot of what you could call bold claims, a lot of things that sound like claims, because they're very different to what a lot of the world will tell you. But no, there's no way to train posture. There truly is just an even mathematical opposing bend in the body. The natural bend in the knee, the natural curve in the spine. 2 videos under in the Image Clothing Company's main site here. Yeah, we just have to stay standing up on Earth's vertical gravity pull that doesn't change. Okay, so there's only one position the body works in. That's what I'm saying. It's its neutral position. Okay, there's only one way the hands work. There is only one way the feet work. 2 videos I filmed back to back in beautiful St. George, Utah in November of 2025. Okay, at the end of last year. Yeah, it's just the shape and length of the bones, how the body works. We've got bones of the body that make up what we call the skeletal system. The bones of the body are all connected through ligaments. They connect directly to each other. The bones are just the shape and length that they are, and they can't change. We call bones sometimes here under in the Image Clothing Company immovable sticks. The bones of the body are basically just a stick. It can't move by itself until it connects to another stick, but the ends of the bones are only the shape and length and size and functioning that they are. They're only connected directly to each other the way that they are through the ligaments, and so everything has to track in line in the body is the point. And there's a neutral position to everything in the body, okay? The wrist can come up or it can come down from the neutral. The ankle can flex up or it can point down from the neutral. The hips can rotate underneath us or away from us from the neutral, right? The elbow and the shoulder, their neutrals are the same. It's wherever the upper arm bone goes. Okay. So we pivot up and internal rotation on this collarbone or clavicle, and we pivot down or external rotation on the collarbone or clavicle, connecting from the center line of the body at the sternum at the top of it here, coming up and out and becoming the shoulder. This collarbone called clavicle is one of the 3 bones of the shoulder. I'm just giving some context here. There's no opinion to the human being that could ever possibly matter on how it works. It's designed in the image of God, by God. It grows for us. We're literally only the earth. Our bodies just get made, if you will, by what we eat. That's why the goal is natural. Under in the Image Clothing Company, we can only eat natural things because our bodies literally are the earth, and the earth is natural. When we die, our bodies go back to the earth and decompose. We've got unnatural, synthetic, and artificial things nowadays that are damaging to the body, man-made things taken from natural things that will always decompose back to natural things, but they've been altered, okay? We've got natural, neutral, and normal, which are synonyms within the functioning of the human being or the dogs. Okay. The bodies have a natural working to them that they would just do, God designed the body to work if we never altered it. It just would, the way that babies and toddlers have all their natural motion, quote, full range of motion, unquote. Okay, a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Everything in the body just has a full range to its motion, and then we just have bones that hit into each other. And on either end of everything, the body only does what it does, okay? The human body only pulls. A video's title here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. All the musculature in the body can do is pull those bones, okay, where the muscles connect to the bones. Muscles only pull, and they do it, ew, something in my mouth. Muscles pull directly in line only, okay? So muscles connect to bones through tendons, and we pull muscles to close a hinge joint, like the elbow, but we have opposing muscles to each function. On the back side of the arm, we pull muscles to extend a hinge, like the elbow here. Yeah, we don't push as a human being. We can't possibly push. We pull to close, or we pull to extend hinge joints. So there's only one way the human body could ever work, and it's just mechanics, okay? The human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. There's no opinion to it, okay? We just have to understand how it works. We've got a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side titled Anatomy Understanding versus Fitness Advice, okay? And we just need to understand our bodies because we say it like this: every body has one, and every one has a body. There's a universal human design. You can be slightly different. You can have a deformity, a birth defect, a major surgery, or an amputation, anything like this, or that's not like this at all, but sets your body apart from something that we could say you're set apart from. Well, it's the universal human design. Okay, so we have to do all that we can in our own individualistic situations to get as close as we can to the universal human design, because Earth's vertical gravity pull remains on Earth here, okay, if you're on the surface of it, or anywhere that you're being affected by its gravity. But also there's just a center line to the body, and that's between the rib cage on either side that's caging the lungs with bones connecting from the sternum and the center line of the body, wrapping around each side of the body and connecting into the center line of the body in the rear, which is the spine, okay? These rib bones, they protect the lungs, which are what we breathe within, okay, the lungs. The spine's got to be in the center because the brain stems into the spine, feeding electrical signals out to the entire body to tell it what to do, okay? So our muscles that only pull, this is how that's happening. Muscle fibers have an electrical system sent from the brain out to them, and they fire, okay? And they get closer together. They pull, okay? Only the body can't push, okay? So, clothing. Yeah, we're a clothing company. My chair is about to fall over. I stacked these rocks up at different heights. Okay, this video's title, In The Image Clothing Company's main side, the 4th of April, 2026. The proper height chair from person to person. Dante is not a person, he's a standard poodle. Check this out. We've been saying this since the founding, like I was saying a little bit earlier here in this video. Chair heights are damaging to the body, okay? We've got human beings that are all different heights. Sure, we've got a universal human design, but we've got different proportions, okay? Different lengths of bones. It's about the bones. The only reason we have muscles is to move the bones of the body, to stabilize the bones of the body, and really it's okay? Move the body. The body's stabilizing. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole. Everything in the body's there with its own individual function and role to play. Anywhere any of the body goes, every part of it comes. So what we have to have is everything playing its function, because the body can't compensate. We can't have parts of the body trying to make up for the role of something else in the body if something's not working properly, because it's just all different. That's why it's all there in everything in the body, okay? So, yeah, the body works all together. It's a kinetic chain. It's all connected, okay? We have to look at the body as a whole, or else you're not going to benefit it, okay? So, chair heights. This is the thing. We've got In The Image Clothing Company podcast, another one of our forwards to In The Image Clothing Company, where what we really do there is have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, but you don't have to be religious or believe in anything, because it's just that truth is truth. We're all human beings. We're the same thing, placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. Everything was the same before you got here, and it'll be the same after you leave. Okay, truth is truth. Yeah, matter cannot be created or destroyed. That's a big point. But also, you can't even develop a belief on anything about how you got here until you first get here to be able to develop a belief on how it happened, right? So, truth is truth. It's apart from all of us. That's why I say so very clearly, often, under In the Image Clothing Company. Me, Evan Strong, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Don't believe me. Don't believe In the Image Clothing Company, any of our team members, any of our poodles who are our team members as well. With any of our information, no. Truth is truth, because we say things that sound crazy, but it doesn't matter what we say. Spoken or unspoken, truth is always truth. Okay. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled, One Size Fits the Really Tall Guy. Okay. This was quite a while back from today's date, the 4th of April, 2026. The thing is, yeah, I mean, since the very founding, though, like the very founding of In the Image Clothing Company, we've been just discussing chair heights because our bodies can't have their muscles deactivate any part of the body. And so, sure, you're tying ropes on the body like a shoelace or a drawstring and putting one side over the other and rotating your entire body. Anything tied on or around the body at all, the body's damaged. Okay, you've got muscles deactivating because just these opposing sides to things. Okay, internal rotation versus external rotation, things coming up versus things going down, okay, as well. Just opposing sides to functions in the body, everything has to evenly oppose the neutral, and we stabilize like that. Things pull one way and things pull the opposite way, as far as muscles on each side of a function, we stabilize in the center, okay? So if we deactivate muscles on one side of a function, our bodies can't work. Our bodies can't even be stabilized and our bodies are damaged. Okay. So, yeah, oversized clothing, the same thing. You know, if we just don't have the joints of our material of clothing meshing with the joints of our body parts, then our joints of our body can't work naturally. We're trying to work around our clothing. Like we were saying at the beginning here of the video, everything we're doing in our life, we're doing it in and through whatever is physically clothing our bodies. Okay, so there you go. In the Image Clothing Company. Okay. Now, why one size fits the really tall guy is because we live in a modern man-made world, as I said. Okay, but this is the thing, really. We've got these feet that grip arches. We've got these hands that have rounding to them that mesh with the arches in our feet. We've got a video under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here titled The Open Palm and Internal Rotation, okay? We've got, quote, different length toes, unquote, okay? A video under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. We've got 5 different length toes as a human being in the universal human design, okay? If your feet are slightly different, very specifically, then cool, your feet are different. You might not even have feet, but the universal human design has 5 different length toes. So as we grip arches inward in these 5 different length toes, well, we've got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled The Pinky Toes and the Pinky Fingers, because they're the neutrals. The pinky fingers straight out from the outside of the forearm, okay, at the neutral. The pinky toe is straight out from the outside of the lower leg, forward, okay. And those are the neutrals. Okay. Yeah, there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just mechanics. Okay. Physics, mathematics. It's Earth's vertical gravity pull, the horizontal surface to the Earth that we stand on. Even mathematical opposing bends in the body to allow this to happen. Opposing musculature that allow stabilization between each opposing side. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Okay. Yeah. Don't believe me, but it's the truth. You know, people try to train the body of the human being all the time. It doesn't matter if people have been trying to train bodies of human beings longer than I've currently been alive at 26 years old on the 4th of April, 2026. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, my name is Evan Strong. It doesn't matter. There's no way. It's impossible to train the human being. We've got a normal. We talk about the human body's only normal, often, under In the Image Clothing Company. okay? Wow, the sound effects, huh? There's a normal heart rate, the amount of heartbeats per minute, okay? At rest, there's a normal resting respiratory rate, the amount our lungs breathe per minute. There's a normal body temperature. It's 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, just about exactly and just about always. If it slightly varies from that, the body can be very damaged, okay, permanently even. We've got a normal amount of fat content in the body versus the amount of muscle mass we have to have a healthy balance. Anyway, all the things we can say in the body, there's only a normal to it. There's only one way it works. The bones are only the shape and length that they are. The muscles connect to those bones through the tendons that are doing that, okay? And their insertions where they insert to bones. There's a neutral position to everything in the body with two sides to it. There's only one way the human body could ever work. No new information, no sales pitch, no approach, nothing we could take credit for under In the Image Clothing Company. God's design of the human being since always. In order for us to word it, even as God designed us in his image, he had to first look like us to be able to do that. And God, also being called the truth, is the same yesterday, today, and forever, just meaning always on either end of any time. Okay. He's outside of space and time. Okay. God. Jesus the Christ. So, I mean, yeah, don't believe me, but this is how it works. There's only one way the human body works. There's no opinion to it possible when we get down to the truth of it. So, we don't want to be deactivating our bodies, okay? Our feet have to start flat on the ground. We've got the term zero drop. In any brand of shoe, it's just flat, horizontal, the surface of the planet Earth. We can go up a hill only from the neutral, the horizontal planet Earth's surface. You can go down a hill only from the neutral, horizontal planet Earth's surface. We've got man-made shoe designs as human beings, okay? Our bodies are God-made. We have man-made clothing. It has to mesh for the God-made body, okay? If you put heels under your shoes, this neutral to the horizontal surface of the planet Earth has a lifting to the toes and a pointing to the toes, okay? Dorsiflexion or plantar flexion of the hinge joint of the ankle and the lever of the foot. We can lift the foot up, dorsiflexion, or point the toe down, plantar flexion. From the neutral, horizontal surface of the earth is the term zero drop in any brand of shoe. But, yeah, because if you've got heels under your shoes, you're in a constant state of pointing your toes or plantar flexion. This changes the bends of the body all the way up to the tip of the head and out to the tips of the fingers. Okay. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just mechanics. So, don't believe me. But truth is truth. This is how it happens, okay? When we're sitting in a chair, well, we don't want to put weight on the rear of our upper legs, okay? The thing is, when we stand on the ground, you're standing on the bottom of your feet. It's mostly just bone. The heel of the foot and the ball of the foot and the underside of the toes. This is mostly just bone with just a thin little layer of flesh underneath it. Okay. But when we sit down on something that's too high, we put weight on the muscle of the rear of our upper leg. Okay. And we don't want to do that. You'll deactivate your muscle, but as we established earlier, everything in the body's there with its own individual role to play. It's a kinetic chain, all connected, okay? If we deactivate a muscle, especially a big muscle, well, it doesn't matter which muscle in the body. It'll affect everything in the body, okay? But if we deactivate this hamstring, it's especially a very large muscle, okay? Well, the hamstrings, it's multiple muscles. It's a group of muscles on the rear of the upper leg. These are some of the biggest muscles on the body, okay? And if we sit on something that's too high, where this muscle, or these muscles really, of the rear of the upper leg, called the hamstrings, have weight being pressed against them by what we're sitting on, a man-made chair height position, if you will, we deactivate that muscle. Now we've got the pelvis, or the hip structure, okay? And this hip structure of the human being, it's where our upper leg bones, these femurs, come up into from the bottom, and our spine comes down into from the top. Now we've got this hip structure. The hips, or the pelvis of the human being, have a neutral as well as the ankles. The neutral to the pelvis is the same neutral as the feet. The pelvis can tuck underneath us, posterior, or it can rotate away from us, like us bending forward, anterior. Okay? A posterior tuck of the pelvis is like dorsiflexing or lifting the feet. Okay? An anterior rotation of the pelvis is like plantar flexing or pointing the feet. Okay? The neutral for the pelvis of the human being is the same as the neutral to the feet on the surface of the planet Earth. The term zero drop in any brand of shoe. Okay? Just flat on the bottom. Okay? So when we sit in a chair, the proper height chair from person to person. This video's title, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, on the 4th of April, 2026. The chair needs to be here. This is really the proper height chair for a human being. The height of the knee or lower. Okay, here's the thing. We've got the proper height sock and the proper height shoe. Okay, videos under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here. The importance of the proper height socks, the importance of the proper height shoes. There's proper heights to things in the body because there's certain areas the body works in or doesn't, in the ways that it does, meaning there's function that only happens in the areas of the body it does. But also, we do have to remember that we are different as human beings. We've got different length bones because you can be tall or you can be short, okay? What we have in our modern man-made world is just about universally almost exactly the same height chairs. So you've got different height people sitting in just about the same height chairs just about everywhere you go in our modern man-made society in 2026. Okay, today's the 4th of April, 2026. Yeah, so the thing is, that video's title under In the Image Clothing Company podcast, well, that podcast episode's title, One Size Fits the Really Tall Guy. This is the reason. Because if I'm tall, which I am, just meaning I'm well above the average height for human beings across the earth, I'm 6 foot 2 inches tall. Okay, give or take, right around there. Might be a little over 6 foot 2 inches tall. Somewhere right around there, though, me personally, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. For context, okay, there you go. Now you know how tall I am. For me to discuss this through the airplane noise, I'm gonna wait for just a bit for it to be a little bit quieter, okay? Dante's just sleeping. Good, Dante. Good. Hi. Yeah, it's good. Yay, good. Oh, there you go. Shade. Good. The airplane noise. I'm gonna wait. Okay, just for a bit. I'm tucked up right against the mountainside here. Okay. Really, the intention was to get out of the wind and sounds, like the airplanes and the sounds of the town down there. It's a lot quieter here, for sure, than it is down there in the town, okay, for the video's sake. Well, for the audio of the video's sake, okay. But here's the thing. One size fits the really tall guy. I'm tall. I'd be considered as tall just because of the height that God made me as, okay? I couldn't take credit for being tall. That's the thing is our bodies are just what they are, and we've just got different bodies. So for somebody who's very tall, meaning quite a bit taller than the average height human being, they can clear their hamstring, the muscle on the rear of their upper leg, from a chair easier than somebody who's shorter. I heard a turkey. I really did. There's wild turkeys here in Utah. Okay. Yeah, I heard a turkey. So, One size fits the really tall guy. It's easier for taller people to live in our fairly universally man-made societies, because if we are trying to make a one size fits all anything, well, it's going to be too tall for anyone who's pretty short. But anyone who's pretty tall has an easier time working with things. And you know this, if you're short, it can be really hard to do certain things in life. Okay? Yeah, just in any aspect. I mean, trying to reach something that's relatively high for you, somebody who's tall can just do it easier. That's the title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast episode, One Size Fits the Really Tall Guy. It's just easier to do things in almost every case when you're tall as a human being. We have to remember the human body truly is just a mechanical machine. That is it. That's all it is. The organs of the body are only there to fuel the mechanical machine. The digestive system, okay? The blood system of the human body is just there to, pump oxygenated blood throughout this mechanical machine to allow it to continue to physically operate. We breathe to oxygenate the blood, okay? We drink things to lubricate this mechanical machine of the human being. It's only a mechanical machine. That's all it is. It houses us as what we truly are, seriously, to take us across this earth in. It's just a body of flesh and bone and blood. It was pulled from the clay, okay, from the earth. It's only what we've eaten, and then we die and we go back to the earth. It's just a body. It's just a machine. It only works how it does. It doesn't work if we put weight on muscles, okay? So, the proper height chair from person to person, the 4th of April, 2026. In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Here's your video. This is the point. We've got hinges and levers in the body. We've got a hinge of the ankle and the lever of the foot. We've got the hinge of the knee and the lever, if you will, of the lower leg, okay? In the lower leg of the human being, we have two bones, okay? The tibia and the fibula. These are like the two bones on the forearm, okay? From the elbow out to the wrist, really out to the fingertips, but yes, from the elbow to the wrist, we've got a radius and an ulna, two bones in the forearm that rotate, okay? Internal rotation or external rotation from the neutral, okay? The neutral is the thumb straight forward, internal is bringing the thumb in, external is pointing the thumb out. In the lower leg, we've got this tibia and this fibula. It's basically the same thing as the forearm. We've got internal rotation, bring the foot in, or external rotation, bring the foot outward, okay? And these two bones are just rotating over each other within the lower leg on each side of the body, okay? Of the human being, this is how it works, okay? So, that's what I was saying about the pinky toes being straightforward. They are, and from there we have this internal rotation or external rotation. Okay, different length 5 toes. We roll evenly off the ends of our different length 5 toes to just share the weight. As we do this, the pinky toe is forward just because of the shape and length of the bones of the toes. Okay, the big toes are the longest. They're in the center of the body, okay, the middle, if you will. And then we come out and back to those pinky toes, the outside toes, which are the shortest. So the toes kind of come up and in like this, like an arrow to the center line of the body. We roll evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes because they need to evenly share the weight. That's how God designed the human being in his image to work. There's only one way the human body could ever work, right? So we talked about the bottom of the feet. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe. Just for credit, these boots are the Zero Shoes branded Ridgeway model. God, I've said that before. They're not the Ridgeway model boots. I have the Ridgeway model boots by Zero Shoes. These are the Denver leather boots by the brand Zero Shoes, which is a great company that incorporates the term zero drop in their designs, okay? So here's the thing. We have the bottom of the feet, half the function, pointing the toes, which is the sole of the shoe. But we have the top of the feet, that's the other half of the function. That's lifting the foot up, and that's the shoelaces, okay? What we title In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is just the only way you can weave a rope across the top of your feet and not alter the bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles that grip arches inward in the foot and support the entire body of the human being. We don't own it. You can't own a weave of a rope, okay? But we just title it In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique so you can find it, all right? Because, yeah, we have to lift our foot up to put it forward and then put it back down to lift the other foot up, put it forward and put it back down. Just meaning to walk, there's two sides. We lift up and then we put down the foot, each step we take, okay? What I'm saying is the sole of the shoe gets focused on a lot of the time, but it's only half of the function of the foot and ankle. The top of the shoe is the other half of the function, okay? So we need to weave ropes across the top of our feet the way the top of our feet are shaped, and so that we can shape the upper, okay, the top of our shoe the way that the top of our foot is shaped. All right, we've got a lot of videos under In the Image Clothing Company discussing the feet. I mean, a lot, like 20 probably, give or take, as of today's date, the 4th of April, 2026. Anyway, but In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, it looks just like this if you get to see my feet relatively clearly in this video, but anywhere you can find it, look up our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company. You'll find it, okay? Many places posted publicly under what I call the gift of video, okay? But here's the thing. We have to talk about the feet before we can talk about the knees. We have to talk about the knees before we can talk about the hips. We have to talk about the hips before we can talk about the back, and then traveling up, you know. The point is Earth's gravity. We put a lot of focus on gravity under In the Image Clothing Company. It's always pulling on our bodies. Also, check this out. We are a clothing company after all. Why? Well, gravity has the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies, okay? Clothing just being the literal word for anything physically placed onto our bodies. There's only one way our bodies can work mechanically. They're just a mechanical machine, okay? So gravity is a huge focus. We've got a lot of videos discussing just staying vertically over Earth's gravity, okay? Under In the Image Clothing Company here. So, yeah. I could be referencing a lot of videos as I'm saying what I'm saying under In the Image Clothing Company's main site, but I'll just reference what I do in this video to get the point across about the proper height chair from person to person, because we've got different height people, different proportioned people, or human beings, if you will, and we need our bodies to continue to work. What I was saying earlier in this video here about how the bottom of the feet have their neutral being the same neutral as the pelvis or the hip structure of the human being, which is not hard to find if you know where to look. It's the surface of the earth, okay? Flat. Yeah. The pelvis, neutral, it tucks under us. Posterior, it rotates away from us. Anterior. The feet, flat, they point down, plantar flexion, or they lift up, dorsiflexion. Neutral, the surface of the earth. So a big point with chairs is chairs need to be flat, okay? There's a lot of chair designs nowadays in modern 2026, today's the 4th of April, 2026, that aren't flat on the top. So that's a big point, okay? Because the chair needs to be the same angle as the surface of the earth that our feet are going to be on, or just the surface of our flooring inside of a man-made building. It's flat, horizontal, okay? But then if our chairs aren't, then our pelvis, which has the same neutral as the feet, okay, won't remain working with the feet. If we've got our feet flat on the ground, but we're sitting in a chair that's not flat, the same horizontal angle as just the ground, okay, the earth, or just inside of our man-made buildings, the flooring, then if there's just a different angle to the seat we're sitting on than the bottom of our feet, our pelvis will be in a different position from its neutral, which would just be naturally horizontal with the surface of the earth, than the bottom of our feet will be, okay? And so now our bodies won't be even, okay? The bottom of the feet and the pelvis want to be doing the same thing, okay? Meaning they just have to be because they're connected through the legs, okay? The knee between the hips and the foot. If we lock the knee out straight and we have the foot and the hip move at all, the foot becomes the hip, if you will. The foot will do the exact same thing as the hip. Just like if we lock the elbow out, the hand from the shoulder, right, are on either end of the elbow. If we straighten the elbow between the hand and the shoulder do the exact same thing, okay? Hand and shoulder, foot and hip, there you go, okay? The hand is the shoulder when locked out at the elbow between the two. The foot is the hip when locked out at the knee between the two, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine. Now, this is the thing. There's no such thing as chairs until we invent them as human beings. Human beings, though, invented, if you will, by God, have been around for a long time, okay? Since the first man, Adam. Really since God, though, with him designing us in his image, the human body has always just been what it is, okay? The information we deliver under In the Image Clothing Company will apply to our grandkids, great-great-grandkids, and so forth. I mean, it could go as far on either end as it could. Our grandparents, great-great-grandparents. Every body, literal wording there, is the same. It's a human being, and there's a universal human design. So, we have this need to keep the bottom of our feet at the same angle as our pelvis, okay? So this is a big point with this video's title, the proper height chair from person to person. If you're sitting in a chair that's just too tall for you, okay, not only will you be cutting weight, when I say cutting weight, pressing weight into, cutting off your hamstring muscles, okay, the muscles on the rear of the upper leg. If they can't just be up off of the chair, I heard a turkey again, I really did, but we'll just cut into that muscle. When I say cut into it, I mean we'll just press the chair edge, okay, into the muscle of the rear of our upper leg. When we sit as human beings, we actually sit on the bottom of our pelvis, the bottom of our hip structure. We've got these things called sit bones or ischiums. The bottommost part of the structure of the pelvis or the hips, it's what I'm sitting on now. You notice my upper leg doesn't have any weight on what I'm sitting on. Just my pelvis is all. Just my hips, just the bottom of my hips, where those glute muscles are, but that's where we naturally sit. If you were to sit on the ground, if there was no such thing as a chair around you, and you just had to sit down, or you just decided to sit down, or whatever it came to being, and you sat down, you'd sit on the ground, and the only thing that would be touching your pelvis is the ground. What I meant to say is the only part of your body that would be touching the ground is your pelvis. That's the same thing, just worded differently. But once you get higher and higher and higher, if you get higher than this video's title, the proper height chair from person to person, and you have a chair that's taller than your knee. And really what I mean is the top of these lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, the underside of your knee joint. That's as high as you can personally go with your individual length of bones to your body, and same with me as well, before you can, go any farther is the point. Otherwise, you're going to be pressing weight into the muscles of the rear of the upper leg. You notice here sitting down, the top of my lower leg bones, okay, which are here. Let me explain this clearly. We've got the feet, then above the feet, there's the joint of the ankle, okay? The hinge of the ankle moves the lever of the foot. But traveling up from the ankle joint, we've got these two bones in our lower legs, below the knee, but above the ankle joint, okay? The lower legs, the top of these lower leg bones is the answer to this video's title. The proper height chair from person to person. Under In The Image Clothing Company's main side on the 4th of April, 2026, okay? If we go any higher than the top of these upper leg bones with a chair, okay, what we end up doing is pressing weight into the musculature of the rear of the upper legs called our hamstrings, okay, as we've said in this video. But that's the point. As you can see, I'm sitting on this stacked seat that I've made here, okay. These stones, these are actually man-made stones. It's more concrete-like stuff than stone. I found them out here, and they work great for this visual. But I'm sitting on the lower of the two stacks for the video to show what I'm showing here, because I am much taller. No kind of bragging thing. I know it might sound like I'm trying to brag about it. No, I mean, we don't choose how tall we grow. God does. That's the point. Allowing the body to work. In the Image Clothing Company's main side slogan, we don't choose how it works. We don't choose how tall we grow as human beings. But me personally, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I'm well above average height for human beings across the earth. Within this universal human design, I'm 6'2" tall, give or take, maybe slightly over 6'2" tall. Just for context on height, it's easier for me to live in this just about universally height chair society we have in modern 2026 as human beings than anyone who's shorter than me, okay? Anyone who's taller than me has an even easier time physically, mechanically operating as a human being, which that's all we are, is just a mechanical machine when it comes to the human body. Flesh, bones, and blood. Hinges, levers, and rotations. There's only one way the body works, and one size fits the really tall guy, because you can keep your legs off of the chair, okay? Of these generally just about the exact same height chairs in modern day, yeah, you can keep the rear of your upper legs, the muscles of the hamstrings, clear from the chair because your lower leg bones are longer the taller you are. I mean, if that's the case, you know, we've got different proportions as human beings, but yeah, that's the point, okay? Like I said, the answer to the video's title, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here, the 4th of April, 2026, the title is The Proper Height Chair from Person to Person. Well, the proper height is anywhere below where these muscles on the rear of the upper leg, the hamstrings, come and insert to the joint of the knee. And what this is the top of these lower leg bones, because it's unavoidable. If I move, I will. From this seat, this is a fine height for me to sit at. Fine in the case of not putting weight on and against, or pressure on and against my hamstrings, the muscles of the rear of my upper legs, because what I'm sitting on currently is shorter than my personal lower legs height. The top of the tibia and fibula in the lower leg. So now I'm sitting directly on my bones of my pelvis, of my hip structure, the bottom of the pelvis, which is the same that you'd be sitting on if you'd sit on the ground, which is natural. There's always ground, right? Like I said, this is the big point to hit. There's no such thing as chairs until human beings make them. But God made the human being, and we're all different heights and sizes and proportions within the universal human design. It all functions the same, but the size of it is different from person to person. So this is a good height for me, personally, what I'm sitting on here. But this that I'm sitting on now is much lower than, first of all, this other example here to my right, which I'll move to, but also what I'm sitting on currently, this is lower than most all chairs in modern 2026. Okay, today's the 4th of April, 2026. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the importance of the proper height chair from person to person. So yeah, this is fine, okay? Lower than the top of my lower leg bones is how high this chair is, okay? Well, I stacked these things up to make a chair. I'm gonna move over to this one, okay? The point is, this is too tall. Watch this. As I get up, oh my heavens. Now if I sit on this taller chair, it'd be ridiculous if it fell over. There's a lot of rocks here too, so I'd be falling on rocks, not just like the dirt on the mountainside. This is really rocky area here. The Rocky Mountains, Utah, the state of Utah, the United States of America. Okay, we live up Utah, as in the Image Clothing Company. We are based here, okay. Dante, let's do what we can to not crush you if these fall over. That would not be the best thing to have happen, okay? Now, this is too tall for me, personally. This chair, okay? This video's title, on In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 4th of April, 2026, the importance of the proper height chair from person to person. Sitting over here on this lower chair, if you will, okay, I was fine. Mechanically, physically, functionality-wise, in my human body, being just this mechanical machine that it is, placed onto the rock in space that is our Earth. There's only one way the body works of the human being. Hinges, levers, rotations, functionality through all the physical operation it has to take us across the planet Earth with. Okay, designed in the image of God, we're a clothing company for anything that clothes the human being. It's the literal wording of something placed onto the body. Okay, well, this is the thing. This chair over here, the one on my left here, the shorter of the two, it's fine. Okay, for me personally, because it's lower than the height of the top of my lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, okay? As you can see, if you can, I don't want to knock this stack of stones on that I don't want to knock this over what I'm sitting on if I can help it, because I might crush my beautiful standard poodle, Dante. Wow, and I might fall in the rocks too. But yeah, see the top of my tibia and my fibula, the two bones in my lower leg, are taller than this shorter of these two seats. So I'm able to keep the muscles on the rear of my upper leg bone here, the hamstrings, off of the seat, okay? When it's shorter than the top of my lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, okay? The proper height chair from person to person. This video's title, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 4th of April, 2026. But this chair here that I'm sitting on now, this is too tall for me. And I'm tall. I'm above average height human being when we've got just about the same height chairs across the planet Earth in modern 2026, but different height human beings, okay? It's easier for me because I'm tall, okay? One size fits the really tall guy. There you go, right? In this way is how this happens, because I have longer lower leg bones than most people, just because I'm taller statistically than most people. What I'm really saying is it's harder for shorter people than average chair heights, yikes, to just function in life, because your muscle of the rear of your upper leg, the multiple muscles there, the muscle group of the hamstrings, has weight pressing into it the way that mine does here on this chair that's too tall for me, okay? What I'm sitting on here is actually taller than the upper leg bones. Than my lower leg bones, okay? What I'm sitting on here is actually taller than the top of my lower leg bones here, the tibia and the fibula. And so what happens is, this isn't very deep, right? This is only about maybe 5 inches, like front to back, these stones that I've stacked up here for chairs to show the visual. In this video, oh my gosh, I love this. This is a documentation. This is what it is. This is what's going on in this case, okay? But if this was a deeper or a farther back from front to back, right, chair, I could scoot back on it, meaning I'd have the possibility to, and then I'd really just have the muscles of the rear of my upper leg here, the upper leg bone's called the femur, okay? These muscles are called the hamstrings. they would be having weight on them, just the weight of my upper body, pressing into the musculature of the rear of my upper legs on this chair because it's too tall for me. It's taller than the proper height chair from person to person. Me personally, the length of my lower leg bones to get to the top of the tibia and fibula are shorter than this chair, okay, that I'm sitting on currently. So this is the case for anyone who's shorter than the average height chair across the earth in modern 2026, for example, okay, and whenever the time period could be. If your lower leg bones are not as tall at the top end of them, then whatever you're trying to sit on, that thing's too tall for you to sit on, okay? We've got, yeah. Truth is truth. This is how the body works. We've got muscles crossing through the hips, okay? We've got muscles. I'm going to stand up now, okay? I've shown the visuals, but check this out, okay? It's okay, Dante. We're not going anywhere yet. We've got muscles crossing through the hips. Muscles pull up in the front of the hips with muscles pulling down in the rear of the hips, okay? This crossing through the hips, up from the front and down from the rear, posteriorly rotates the pelvis. We've got muscles pulling up in the rear and down in the front on the pelvis. This anteriorly rotates the pelvis, okay? Okay? And there's a neutral. It's the surface of the earth, like we were saying. It's the bottom of the feet. It's the term zero drop in any brand of shoe. And there you go. If you're sitting on something that's too tall for you, well, that's the point of this video's title. The importance of the proper height chair from person to person. If what you're sitting on is taller than the height of your lower leg bones at the top end of them, this tibia and fibula, okay, the bottom of the knee joint or the top of the lower leg bones, right? Right where those lower leg bones come up and meet into the knee joint. Yeah, if you are sitting on something taller than that, you deactivate the muscles of the rear of your upper leg, your hamstrings. And now this crossing that I was showing, standing there through the hips, up in the front and down in the rear, to get a posterior rotation of the pelvis, to stand up the most vertically we could on Earth's vertical gravity pull, it can't be there fully because the muscles pulling down in the rear, working with the muscles pulling up in the front, these muscles crossing through the hips to get a posterior tuck of the pelvis, these are the hamstrings. So now sitting on something that's too tall for you personally, okay, higher than the top of your lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, like this chair is here, to my right, the taller of the two, in the video for the visual, you will deactivate the hamstrings, the muscles on the rear of your upper leg. And what happens in this case is you can't have posterior rotation of your pelvis happen. Not fully, and not really at all. Not really. Because the human body only works activated as a whole. Everything in the body's there with its own individual role to play. It's all got its own individual function. No compensation can be happening from something not working with something else trying to play its role, because it's all connected. It's a kinetic chain. Everything in the body goes anywhere any of the body goes. It all has to work or it really struggles to, okay? We've got our own individualistic situations within the universal human design, but that's why we have to do all that we can to get as close as we can to the universal human design in our own individualistic situations. Gravity, breathing, which is requiring the entire body to some degree to stabilize every single breath we take, okay? And just having a center line to the body. The spine has to be there because it's stemming the entire body with its electrical signals to just keep it alive. To some degree, you have to have a spine or you're not alive, okay? Because you can't even breathe if your rib cage doesn't connect into your spine to house your lungs. I'm just saying, there's no opinion to this, okay? You can't sit on anything that's taller than the top of your lower leg bones and have your body stay activated. So anyone who's shorter than the average height chair, broad spread across the earth in modern 2026 at least, you know, when it comes to the height of their lower leg bones, you're really struggling to just sit. And I understand, even though I'm much taller than average height as a human being, and I rarely ever deal with this problem, okay? Well, oh no, I do, but just not anywhere near to the same degree, because my lower leg bones are quite a bit taller than a lot of other people's. Anyone who has shorter lower leg bones than me, just because we don't decide how tall we grow as human beings, God does. Anyway, the point is, yeah, you know, just the higher up you get, the more you can relieve the pressure on your hamstrings from a chair. So, the point is, as we say, it's impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything. There's no approach to that. There's no claim. The human body always goes back to its only normal. You can gain all the muscle mass you want, like the musculature's size. You can work out and get larger muscles, or you can work out and get stronger, but only for a time. Once you stop working out, excessively working your body to get excessively large muscles or excessively strong muscles, your body will go back to, just as everyone's does and every body has always, the human body's only normal, okay? But the big point is, no matter what you're trying to do or not do with your body, there's only one way the human body could ever work. Truly, it's a mechanical machine. It's about the shape and length of the bones, and then the muscles connect to those bones, and the muscles are only the shape and length that they are. And if your muscles aren't able to stay activated, your body's damaged. So anyone who's sitting in any chair ever that's taller than the height of the top of their lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, it deactivates your musculature of the rear of your upper leg, these hamstrings. It changes the position of your pelvis or your hip structure to be more anterior. It really puts your whole body into external rotation over the neutral. Then we have internal rotation from the neutral as well. So it just puts you into only one rotation. Okay, there's a lot to this. I could really discuss it thoroughly because we've got different length 5 toes, right? 5 different length toes in the universal human design. We roll evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes in the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 4th of April, 2026. Okay, the proper height chair from person to person. With us having these different length 5 toes within the universal human design, naturally we roll evenly off and put even pressure off the ends of our 5 different length toes each step we take. The big toes being the longest will try to reach the ground if you're sitting on something that's too tall for you. Anything you sit on that's taller than the top of your lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, your foot won't reach the ground all the way because it'll just be hanging off the ground. Okay? because the weight's being supported by your hamstring muscles, which shouldn't have weight against them the way that they will in a chair that's too tall for you personally, being determined by the height of your lower leg bones, the tibia and the fibula. So if we do sit in something that's too tall for us, the foot will dangle down, but we have different length 5 toes. And really our feet grip arches inward. And to do that, you have to start on the outside. The feet grip from the pinky toes in, okay? And then we have the height of the gripped arch. We have that neutral pinky toe straight forward. And we just have the body functioning naturally, rolling evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes. But our big toes on the inside of the foot are the longest. And so, yeah, if our feet just can't reach the ground because we're sitting on something too tall for us, the foot will dangle down, and the only toe that would be able to reach the ground first would be the longest toe, which is the big toe. And now, since the foot grips an arch inward from the outside of the foot at the shortest toe, the pinky toe, if our feet can't touch the ground, we won't be leading with that pinky toe, even though it's the neutral from internal rotation or external rotation with our different length 5 toes in the universal human design. We'll lead with the big toe just because it's the longest, sitting on something too tall for us. Okay. This video's title, The Proper Height Chair from Person to Person. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 4th of April, 2026. Sitting on something too tall, with your foot just hanging there, it's in plantar flexion. The foot, or really the ankle hinge and the lever of the foot, is pointing down, just hanging with gravity, with the weight being supported by the hamstrings being on a chair that's too tall for you because it's taller than the height of your lower legs, if it is, okay? Now, dangling your foot down like this off the ground, your big toe will touch the ground, but the foot grips an arch inward from the outside toe, the pinky toe, which is the shortest. So your foot will reach the ground with the big toe first because it's the longest toe, but this is a collapsed arch in the foot. So now the foot goes into external rotation and points out, collapsing the arch in the foot, changing the whole body, traveling up, because now the body is not being supported by a gripped arch. When the arch collapses, it changes the pelvis's position from its neutral, flat, horizontal, the surface of the planet Earth, same as the bottom of the feet should be, but in a chair that's too tall, with weight on your hamstring, hanging your foot down like that, being supported by a muscle group of the hamstrings on the rear of your upper leg, you collapse your foot arch. Your longest toe, which is your big toe, touches the ground and points out, okay? So short people have a hard time in life because we have this modern man-made world with fairly universal chair heights that are too tall for almost everyone. That's why there's that episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled, One Size Fits the Really Tall Guy. Okay. Here's a recap. I'm not even going to recap it. I don't even care. What I mean by I don't even care is this is the truth. This is what's happening. Anyone that's trying to work their bodies out, but then they spend any time ever in their entire life sitting on something taller than the height of the top of their lower 2 leg bones, the tibia and the fibula, it doesn't matter what you're trying to get your body to do ever. First off, there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just the shape and length of the bones, the shape and length of the muscles. Everything has a neutral. a vertical pull to gravity and a horizontal surface to the planet Earth. It's a 90-degree perpendicular right angle. The human body is just mathematics, measurable mechanics, okay? Angles and degrees of rotations and hinges, levers in the bodies of the human being. It only does what it does. That's the first off. It's impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything. You might think you're trying to do that. It will always go back to the human body's only normal immediately after you stop trying to get it to do something excessively good, if you will, or excessively well. There's only a normal to the human being, as we established earlier in this video. No opinion to it that could ever possibly matter. It's not my opinion. It's not my choice. The human body is designed by God, and the human body is designed to work before we alter it and potentially get it into very deep chronic patterning, okay? No opinion to this, by the way, that could ever possibly matter. This is the truth. Any moment of your life spent sitting on anything that's taller than the height of your lower leg bones, at the top end of them, the tibia and the fibula, your body's damaged. Period and done. You're just deactivating your musculature, okay? Well, multiple things are happening. Like I said, this will be the recap. You're deactivating your musculature, the rear of your upper leg, those hamstring muscles. You're going to be in plantar flexion of the ankle, so you're already out of the ankle's neutral from dorsiflexion or plantar flexion, which is normally just the surface of the planet Earth, flat. The term, zero drop in any brand of shoe. But then also, since your big toe is the longest, it'll be reaching down to try to touch the ground, which will collapse your foot outward into external rotation because we have different length 5 toes within the human being's universal design. Okay? And the neutral is normally straight forward from that pinky toe, which is the shortest on the outside of the foot, where the arch grips inward from. These things happening down at the bottom of the body will change the pelvis because the pelvis's position is determined by what the feet do. Neutral for the bottom of the feet on the surface of the planet Earth is the same neutral as the pelvis, okay? Plantar flexion and dorsiflexion is the same as anterior rotation and posterior rotation when it comes to the ankle joint or the pelvis/hip structure of the human being. There's no opinion to this, by the way, that could ever possibly matter. There's no way to train your body to do anything. It's impossible. Without something like a surgical procedure, you're never going to change how the body works. The shape and length of the bones of the human being don't cease to be what they are once you're full grown. And as you're growing, there's just a proportionate amount of workings in the body that's different from part to part of it. It's just a kinetic chain. There's only one way the human body could ever work. My name is Evan Strong. I'm the founder, but I'll be doing this for my entire life under In the Image Clothing Company. Every body has one. Everyone has a body. There's a universal human design. We're a clothing company just because clothing's got to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. So we don't alter the body. The body's only natural. The body has to stay centered on Earth's vertical gravity pull. And fitting correct when it comes to clothing is just where the joints of the body are and how the body works. As if it had never been altered, being designed by God to work, the human body just should, the way that babies and toddlers do. Our natural full range to all of our motion shouldn't go away. The only reason it does is because we get into patterning, okay? Patterning meaning, you had part of our body's function is taken away. We just can't get to our full function, okay? On either side of the neutral of everything that the body has, there's always a neutral when it comes to any motion. It's how it moves. Otherwise, we would just move one way and be done, you know? But you move one way or the other from the neutral. There's only one way the human body could ever work. There's no opinion to it that could ever possibly matter, so don't come after me about it. Find the truth of God, Jesus the Christ. Shout out to Easter. That's tomorrow, Easter Sunday, 2026. Today's the 4th of April, so. The proper height chair from person to person, it matters. You know, there's just not a universal height human being across the planet, but there's just about and very similarly close to fairly universal height chairs. It just doesn't work. The body's a machine. The hinges and levers of the body are different lengths and, you know, that's the big point. They're just different lengths from person to person. It's the height of those two lower leg bones or lower. That's the proper height chair for anyone or any body. Every body has one and everyone has a body. Yeah. So really that's the point. I love it. I'm so grateful. This is, I mean, honestly, truly so ridiculously grateful for how this video turned out. Let me give a little bit of context here. I tried to make this video a few different times in a few different locations before we ended up here. Okay, Dante and I, my standard poodle here, we were driving a vehicle around and we ended up here. I ended up stumbling across these stones here, these man-made curbing type stone concrete block thingies, if you will, okay? And I stacked them up. I was able to make two different height chairs to show the visual. This is something we've been discussing since, when I say the very founding of In The Image Clothing Company, I mean like the absolute very start. We've been talking about how chairs are damaging to the human being, but this is the real anatomy explanation, mechanics explanation, and true physical operation discussion as to why. There's no opinion to it. It's about the length of the bones of the body. Okay. The body is about its bones anyway. The only reason we have muscles is to stabilize and move the bones of the body. Okay. The human body is about a natural position. That's how machines work. They're about positions. Okay. Things lining up properly with their physical operation. That's determined by the immovable by themselves bones of the human being and them tracking directly in line the only way the muscles pull from endpoint to endpoint, insertion to insertion at the tendons to the bones. All muscles can do is pull directly in line. Okay, there's no opinion to it possible when it comes to how the human body works. It's nothing to do with me. It's been the same since every body, ever, literal wording, every human being, it functions the exact same, right? Unless your body really is very slightly different or quite a bit different, but extremely uniquely, like a deformity or something like this, an amputation, you know, birth defect, a major surgery. That's why I say those things. Somebody just shot something over there. But that's why I say those things. Can set your body apart, but only from something can you be set apart, which is the universal human design. So that's the thing. We discuss where clothing sits onto the body of the human being very clearly and very often. Under In The Image Clothing Company. Okay, so find it wherever you find our 5-word company name. Things like stretch in clothing, things like tags in clothing, things like these unnatural, synthetic, and artificial materials didn't even exist until tens of years ago from today's date, the 4th of April, 2026. So a lot of human beings lived before we did. Dante's just, you know, living up the shade that I'm causing by sitting here, which is great, okay? It's not all that hot, but it's, you know, relatively warm, which I love. Because Dante and I, this month, April 2026, are going to be moving down to St. George, Utah, the true desert, man. Yeah, it's hot in the summers down there, and it stays relatively warm in the winters. The very, very southernmost part of Utah, yeah, we live up Utah, like I said in this video already, as in the Image Clothing Company. The beautiful, diverse nature, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints headquarters are here in the state of Utah. And there's a lot that we do here, so, you know, we'll be breeding purebred standard poodles to advocate for the health of purebred dogs. You would just about never even have the opportunity to possibly ever have a mixed dog breed in nature, okay? But it's become very common to have in our modern man-made societies. with our domesticated dogs. Okay, so it's for the health of dogs. We advocate for purebred dogs. In the Image Clothing Company Music, another one of our forwards, a lot of what we do is show the sizing and the setup of guitar to not alter things like this neutral wrist, straight out from the outside of the forearm, down and out the pinky finger, and the natural rounding to our hands, okay, that correlates with the arches in our feet, those rounded hands and the rounded arches in the feet. And this is what I was saying earlier, is we've got slippery, flat, man-made flooring, and our feet need to grip arches, okay? There's naturally texture in nature. We've got flat, slippery, unnaturally shaped things we make as human beings, and our hands are only round. Our different length four fingers work around our opposable thumb that's a different length than the fingers. There's only one way the human body could ever work. These are the things that we miss if we miss them as human beings, trying to understand the human body. Different length fingers, different length toes, muscles only pulling and directly in line, bones only the shape and length that they are. There's truly only one way the human body could ever work. It's always been the exact same. It's nothing to do with me, Evan Strong, but I am the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, and I will be doing this for my entire lifetime, helping human beings across the planet with our beautiful team as it builds under In The Image Clothing Company. And our beautiful team includes our poodles as well, with all the things we do with our dogs over on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. But this is really what we do. Okay, a lot of these things. So anyway, in-person events, poodle parade events under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed poodles of any size, here to the state of Utah. That's our focus location-wise, but if we branch out anywhere else, then there you go, okay, location-wise. But we'll get people into nature and dogs into nature through what we call, like I said, poodle parade events. Come for the events, and the reason we're doing them, not for In The Image Clothing Company's team, okay? But, yeah, subcategories like Clean the Creek or Rid the Rubbish, specific poodle parade events to do things for the environment of our beautiful planet Earth, okay? Picking up trash, things like this, you know. These are the things we do, and these are the people we are. Anyway, there you go. Thank you. And goodbye. All right, Dante. Good boy. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Yeah, seriously, thank you. And this is a beautiful location.